Good evening, seventh graders. I hope you've had an amazing weekend and a great Mother's Day. We got 2 weeks of school left, and today we're on, or for tomorrow being Monday, we have chapter 8 of Messenger. If you recall in chapter 7, our good friend Maddie had went to the trade mart, and people were changing. Mentor's birthmark was gone. Somebody got a gaming machine. People were whispering things. It was really odd and really pretty creepy. So let's see what chapter 8 has in store. I haven't read it, of course. As I said, I am going to read the book with you guys, which I will do now. So hope you enjoy it. Shut the door. Sorry about the interruption. 5-year-old at the door, not pleased, looking for mom, mad at sister. Anyway, here's chapter 8. The puppy was ready, so was Maddie. The other little dog, the one who had been his childhood companion for years, had lived a happy, active life, died in his sleep, and had been buried with ceremony and sadness beyond the garden. For a long time, Maddie, missing Branch, had not wanted a new dog, but now it was time, and when Jean summoned him, her message was that Maddie had to come right away to pick up the puppy, because her father was furious at its mischief. He hurried to her house. He had not been to Mentor's home place since Trade Mart the previous week. The flower garden, as always, was thriving and well tended, with late roses in bloom and fall asters fat with bud. He found Jean there kneeling by her flower bed, digging with a trowel. She smiled up at him, but it was not her usual saucy smile, fraught with flirtatiousness, the smile that drove Maddie nearly mad. This morning she seemed troubled. He's shut in the shed, she told Maddie, meaning the puppy. Did you bring a rope to lead him home? I don't need one. He'll follow me. I have a way with dogs. Jean sighed, set her trowel aside, and wiped her forehead, leaving a smear of earth that Maddie found very appealing. I wish I did, she said. I can't control him at all. He has grown so fast, and he's very strong and determined. My father is beside himself, wanting such a wild little thing gone. Maddie grinned. Mentor deals with lots of wild little things in the schoolhouse. I myself was a wild little thing once, and it was he who tamed me. Jean smiled at him. I remember. What a ragged, naughty thing you were, Maddie, when you came to village. I called myself the fiercest of the fierce. You were that, Jean agreed with a laugh, and now your puppy is. Is your father home? No, he's off visiting Stocktender's widow as usual, Jean said with a sigh. She's a nice woman. Jean nodded. She is. I like her. But Maddie, who'd been standing, sat down on the grass at the edge of the garden. What? May I tell you something troubling? He felt himself awash with affection for Jean. He had for a long time been attracted to her girlish affections, her silly charms and wiles. But now, for the first time, he felt something new. He perceived the young woman behind all those superficial things. With her curly hair tumbling over her dirt-streaked forehead, she was the most beautiful person Maddie had ever seen. And now she was talking to him in a way that was not foolish and childlike, designed to entrance, but instead was human and pained and adult. He felt suddenly that he loved her. It was a feeling he'd never known before. It's about my father, she said in a low voice. He's changing, isn't he? Maddie replied, startling himself because he had not yet spelled it out in his mind before, had not said it aloud yet here it was, and he was saying it to Jean. He felt an odd sense of relief. Jean began to cry softly. Yes, she said, he has traded his deepest self. Traded? That part took Maddie by surprise because he'd not thought it through to there. Traded for what? Maddie asked in horror, and realized he was repeating the phrase from Trade Mart. For Stocktender's widow, she said, weeping. He wanted her to love him, so he traded. He's becoming taller and straighter. The bald spot at the back of his head has grown over his hair. With hair. Maddie, his birthmark disappeared. Of course, that was it. I saw it, Maddie told her. But I didn't understand. He put his arm around the sobbing girl. She caught her breath finally. I didn't know how lonely he was, Maddie. If I had known. So that's why. Maddie was trying to sort through it in his head. The puppy. Once he would have loved a naughty puppy, Maddie, the way he loved you when you were a raggedy boy. I knew it all for certain yesterday when he kicked the puppy. Till then I only suspected. Jean wiped her eyes with the back of her hand and left another endearing streak of dirt. And the petition, Maddie added, thinking of it suddenly. Yes, Father always welcomed new ones. It was the most wonderful part of Father, how he cared for everyone and tried to help them learn. But now... They heard a loud whimpering from the shed and a scratching sound. Let him out, Jean, and I'll take him home before your father gets back. She went to the shed door, opened it, and though her face was tear-streaked now, she smiled at the eager, ungainly puppy who bounded forth, jumped into Maddie's arms, and licked his cheeks. The white tail was a whir. I need time to think, Maddie said, subduing the puppy with a rhythmic scratch below his chin. What's to think about? There's nothing to be done. Trades are forever. Even if a stupid thing like a gaming machine breaks down or if you tire of it, you don't get to reverse. He wondered if he should tell her. She had seen the effect of his power on the puppy and its mother, but he hadn't understood. Now, if he chose, perhaps he could explain, but he was uncertain about this. He did not know how far his power went, and he did not want to promise this beloved girl something impossible. To repair a man's soul in deepest heart, to reverse an irreversible trade, might be far more than Maddie could possibly undertake. So he stayed silent and took his lively puppy away. Look, he sits now when I tell him to. Then Maddie groaned and said, Oh, sorry. When will he ever learn to stop saying look to a man who had no eyes? But the blind man laughed. I don't need to be able to look. I can hear that he sits. The sound of his feet stop, and I don't feel his teeth on my shoes. He's smart, I think, Maddie said optimistically. Yes, I think you're right. He's a good little puppy, Maddie. He will learn quickly. You don't need to worry about his mischief. The blind man reached out his hand, and the puppy scampered to it and licked his fingers. And he's quite beautiful. In truth, Maddie was trying to convince himself. The puppy was a combination of several colors, big feet, a whirligig of a tail, and lopsided ears. I'm sure he is. He'll need a name. I haven't thought of the right one yet. His true name will come to you. I hope I get my own soon, Maddie said. It will come when the time comes. Maddie nodded and turned back to the dog. First I thought a survivor because he was the only one of the puppies that did, but it's too long. It doesn't sound like the right one. Maddie picked up the puppy and scratched its belly as it lay on his lap. So then, Maddie began to laugh. Since he was the one that lived, I thought of Liver for a name. Liver? The blind man laughed as well. I know, it was a stupid idea. Liver with onions. Maddie made a face. He set the puppy on the floor again and it dashed off, tail wagging, to growl at the logs piled beside the stove and to chew at the edges where raw wood curled. You could ask Leader, the blind man suggested. He's the one who gives true names to people. Maybe he would do it for a puppy. That's a good idea. I have to go see Leader anyway. It's time to take messages around for the meeting. I'll take the puppy with me. Clumsy, with his stubby legs and oversized feet, the puppy couldn't manage the stairs at Leader's home place. Maddie picked him up and carried him and then set him on the floor in the upper room where Leader was waiting at his desk. The stacks of messages were ready. Maddie could have taken them and left on his errand without pausing, but he lingered. He enjoyed Leader's company. There were things he wanted to tell him. He began to put them in order in his mind. Do you want to put a paper down for him? Leader asked, watching with amusement as the little thing scampered about the room. No, he's fine. He never has had an accident. It's the first thing he learned. Leader leaned back in his chair and stretched. He'll be good company for you, Maddie, the way Branch was. Do you know, he went on, in the place where I was a child, there were no dogs, no animals at all. No chickens or goats? No, nothing. What did you eat then? Maddie asked. We had fish, lots of fish from a hatchery, and plenty of vegetables, but no animal meat, and no pets at all. I never even knew what it meant to have a pet or even to love something and be loved back. His words made Maddie think of Jean. He felt his face flush a little. Did you never love a girl? He asked. He thought Leader would laugh, but instead the young man's face became reflective. I had a sister, Leader said after a moment. I think of her still, and I hope that she's happy. He picked up a pencil from the desk, twirled it in his fingers, and gazed through the window. His clear blue eyes seemed to be able to see great distances, even into the past or perhaps the future. Maddie hesitated. Then he explained, I meant a girl, not like your sister, but, well, a girl? Leader put the pencil down and smiled. I understand what you mean. There was a girl once, long ago. I was younger than you, Maddie, but I was at the age when such things begin. What happened to her? She changed, and I did too. Sometimes I think I want nothing to change ever, Maddie said with a sigh. Then he remembered what he wanted to tell Leader. Leader, I went to the Trade Mart, he said. I hadn't been before. Leader shrugged. I wish they'd vote to end it. I never go anymore, but I did in the past. It seemed folly and time wasting. Now it seems worse. It's the only way to get something like a gaming machine. Leader made a face. A gaming machine. He commented with disdain. Well, I'd like one, Maddie grumbled, but Seer says no. The puppy wandered to a corner of the room, sniffed, made a circle of himself, collapsed, and fell asleep. Maddie and Leader together watched it and smiled. It isn't just gaming machines and such. Maddie had wondered how to say it and how to describe it. Now into the silence as they watched the sleeping puppy, he found himself simply blurted out. Something else is happening at Trade Mart. People are changing, Leader. Mentor is. I have seen the changes in him, Leader acknowledged. What are you telling me, Maddie? Mentor has traded away his deepest self, Maddie said, and I think that others are too. Leader leaned forward and listened intently as Maddie described what he had seen, what he suspected, and what he knew. Leader gave me a name for him, but I don't know if I like it. Maddie was back by lunchtime after delivering the last of the messages. The blind man was at the sink, washing his clothes. And what's the name? He asked, turning toward Maddie's voice. Frolic. There's a nice sound to it. How does the puppy feel about it? Maddie lifted the puppy from where it was riding, curled up inside his jacket. For most of the morning it had followed him, scampering at his heels, but eventually its short legs had tired. Maddie carried it the rest of the way. The puppy blinked. He had been asleep in the jacket, and Maddie set him on the floor. Frolic, Maddie said, and the puppy looked up. His tail churned. Sit, Frolic, Maddie said. The puppy sat instantly. He looked intently at Maddie. He did, Maddie told the blind man in delight. Lie down, Frolic. After a flicker of a pause, the puppy reluctantly sank to the floor and touched the rug with his small nose. He knows his true name already. Maddie knelt beside the puppy and stroked the little head. Good puppy, he said. The big brown eyes gazed up at him, and the spotted body, still sprawled obediently on the floor, quivered with affection. Good, Frolic, Maddie said. What a cool chapter. Now that I think about it, I wonder if Maddie has the power to heal people, and if he does, could he heal the sight of Seer? That would be pretty cool if the Seer had vision again and could see all the things he'd missed. I kind of think about Leader there. Leader clearly had some regrets in life. He probably missed Lily Billy as she went by in The Giver. But more importantly, he missed the girl. I forgot her name, but she was his close friend, along with his best friend. He certainly had regrets and probably missed her and wished things could have been different. Today's shout-out I'm going to give to Landon Brooker and Ellie Shrub again, only because they are two of the biggest dog lovers I've ever met. And even as awesome, I'm sure, as their dogs are with them, I wonder if they can just say sit and roll over and lie down and speak with dogs just the way that Maddie does. You guys be safe. Hey, please keep doing your schoolwork. I looked at the list today. It is really long of kids who are not doing their work. Not just my class. My kids are doing their work. But I'm looking at like social studies, math, other classes. Please get your work done, guys. You got 2 more weeks. I know it's not what you guys want. It's not what your teachers want. But keep pushing. Do your very best. And we'll be proud of you. All right? Thanks. Be safe. Bye-bye.